Thank
Right.
you.
I've put a sign on the door as well, by the way, so hopefully you won't be disturbed whilst it's Stream's now live, Chair.
Yes, I can confirm the stream's now live, Chair, and the meeting is also being recorded. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, then. Welcome, councillors, to the live stream meeting of the Healthy, Safe, Clean and Green Community Scrutiny Committee at Bolsover District Council. This is a public meeting being streamed live to YouTube and via the council's website. If for any reason the public can no longer hear or see the meeting over the live stream, we will adjourn the meeting until the connection has been re-established. This meeting is also being recorded. Can the facilitator confirm who is in remote attendance at this meeting, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I will go down, first of all, I will go down the list of members on this committee who are in remote attendance. I will go down the list and ask each committee member to please, when I say your name, please confirm your title, the ward you represent, and confirm that you can see and hear me as well, please. First of all, Councillor Dexter Bullock.
Yeah, Councillor Dexter Bullock, Blackpool Parish, and I can see you and hear you, thank you.
Councillor Rose Bowler.
Councillor Rose Bowler, Bolsover South Ward. Yes, I can see and hear you.
Councillor Anne Clark.
Councillor Anne Clark, Bolsover East Ward, and yes, I can hear and see you.
Councillor David Downs.
Councillor David Dan, Shabrook South. Yes, I can see and hear everybody.
Councillor Yvonne Parkin.
Councillor Yvonne Parkin, South Norrington Parish. Yes, I can hear and see everybody.
Councillor Janet Tate.
Councillor Janet Tate, Shirebrook South. Yes, I can hear and see everybody.
And Councillor Peter Roberts.
Yeah, I can see and hear, and I'm Whitwell Parish, whatever.
In addition to those committee members, we're also joined in the room by officers, including Amar Bashir, the Improvement Officer, Tom Scott, Governance Officer, Alison Bluff, Governance Officer, Joe Wilson, Scrutiny and Elections Officer. We're joined from Street Scene Depot by Steve Brunt, the Head of Street Scene, Steve Jowett, the Street Scene Manager, and also from the Street Scene Depot, Portfolio Holder Councillor Deborah Watson. And also remotely Councillor Nick Clark, the Portfolio Holder as well. And in Meeting Room 4 from the ARC, we also have Portfolio Holders Mary Dooley and
Sandra Peake.
and Sandra Peake as well. That's everybody. Thank you.
Right, I will now hand over to facilitate then to explain some of the procedures for the meeting. Tom, so if you can do that, please.
Before we start the meeting, members are reminded of the meeting etiquette that has been circulated to them. All members should have their microphones off during the meeting unless you wish to speak and you've been called on. Members attending remotely, please leave your cameras on during the meeting. Also for remote members, to request to speak, please use the chat function to type speak or raise your hand on camera. The chair will then call on you to speak during the discussion debate. When a vote is to be taken, this will be by a show of hands. For those attending remotely, please ensure your hand is visible on camera. If any member is disconnected from the meeting, please try to rejoin as quickly as possible. If you have any technical difficulties, please contact one of the support officers assigned to this meeting in my email to you. If you're about to speak, the meeting will wait a few moments for you to rejoin. Chair, I will now hand back to you to start the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Right, good morning, everybody. Item 1 then, please. Apologies for absence.
Councillors Natalie Hoy and Tom Munro, Chair.
Any other apologies today? No? Okay, then we'll move on to item 2, urgent items of business, and I've not got any urgent items of business for today's meeting. So we'll move on to item 3, declarations of interests. As per usual practice, could I ask that if there are any declarations to be made for today's meeting, then can you do so either now or during the meeting when it gets to that particular point? Okay, item 4, minutes of the previous meeting, starting on page 4 of your agenda pack. We have the minutes from the last meeting, which was a long time ago, I'm afraid, the 6th of March. We need to approve those. I'd like to approve these as a true and accurate record of the meeting. Could I have a seconder, please? Is anybody else at that meeting apart from me? No, I've got a seconder.
Chair, Councillor Anne Clark has her hand up, Chair.
Yeah, so seconded by Councillor Anne Clark. All those in favour, can I have a show of hands, please?
That's all in favour except for Councillor Rose Boulder and Councillor Peter Roberts, Chair.
Chair, I wasn't at the meeting, that's why I've not voted.
Yeah, I wasn't at the meeting either, so I can't really vote, can I? Can I?
No, that's right, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, that's correct. So we'll pass those as, we'll move those then as a true record. If I could ask the scrutiny officer at this point to clarify the follow-up activity in relation to the minute 0718, please.
Thank you, Chair. So just to remind members, as agreed at the last meeting, we had an additional recommendation in relation to community leisure provision. And that was as a result of our report looking at the post-scrutiny monitoring from a previous review. We passed this recommendation over to the portfolio holder for leisure services on the relevant officers. However, we thought it was worth pointing out that due to the current restrictions as a result of COVID-19, the council are currently not in a position to be able to deliver the community support activities as we normally would. So at this stage, this recommendation is going to be put on hold until it's clear when community provision is able to restart. The service also notes that although we suggested a minimum amount of £600 in terms of a potential incentive for parish councils, we're also very mindful, due to the current situation, that council is looking at ways of generating more income and making savings wherever possible to offset the situation as a result of COVID-19. And we're therefore quite mindful that it might not be possible to offer incentives initially when services are back up and running. However, the service is looking forward to recommencing sessions in the community. Obviously, it's quite difficult to know when this might be. And as the Active Communities programme, which we were discussing at the time, is heavily relying on the involvement of parish councils and, in some cases, the provision of their venues. Officers are trying to advise them accordingly and trying to reschedule activities where possible for sort of spring, summer months when the weather's generally better and we can use outdoor facilities where they are available. But as we're approaching autumn, officers are very mindful that less sessions are likely to take place under normal circumstances, never mind with current social distancing. So it's quite unlikely that sessions are going to start again until next spring. So what I'm going to endeavour to do is get a further update in spring. Hopefully by that point we'll have a bit of a change in situation in terms of the restrictions for COVID-19 as well, and we'll know where we're at with that recommendation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Jo. Item 5 then is list of key decisions. The most recent list of forthcoming decisions can be found on pages 13 to 21 of your agenda pack on the committee software system. Could I also ask the scrutiny officer to brief members on this report, please?
Thank you, Chair. There's quite a range of reports starting on page 16 within those pages of that report. A number of them are due to be considered by executive in September. I think there's a couple that run into October. Most of them relate to initial decisions around either funding or a sort of change in circumstances where we're trying to move forward with software, etc. I'm not aware of any particular concerns that members have had or any particular inquiries that you've raised with the report writers directly. I'm happy to try and take questions if members have anything specific on any of the reports that are in the list. But on this occasion, there's nothing particularly unusual. But I'm happy to take questions from members if there are any.
Has any members got any questions or observations for Joe? You'd like to raise your hand or speak, please? No? Okay, I'd like to move that we note the report. So can I have a seconder, please? Have we got a seconder, Tom? So I can't see everybody.
Councillor Peter Roberts and Rose Bowler are both raising their hand. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I need to know, are all in favour of that, noting the report?
That's all in favour, Chair.
Thank you. So we'll move on to item 6 then, corporate ambitions and performance targets. So we'll now consider the Q1 report, reviewing performance against the new corporate ambitions. We have the improvement officers here today to present this report. And Amor, would you like to begin, please?
Thank you very much, Chair. Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah, brilliant. So yes, this is the first time reporting on the new council ambitions, and it is for Q1 from April to June. So what I intend to do is just go through the covering report, then go through the appendix, and then Joe did send through some pre-meet questions, and we can go through them at the end as well to make sure that we've covered everything. So for the healthier, safer, cleaner, greener theme, there are 11 targets in total. 7 of the targets are currently on track, with 1 target already being achieved. And this was environment number 10, develop a wild planting policy for parks and public open spaces where appropriate by March 2021. So the council street scene policies now includes a statement setting out the council's consideration in establishing wild flora or diverse vegetative planted areas. So that was one of Steve Brunt's. Steve, is there anything else you want to add to that one, or are you happy to just mark it as achieved?
No, that's fine, Amor.
That's fine. Okay. Moving on, so there are 3 targets within the theme that have been affected by COVID, and quite understandably, environment 06, so this is increase the number of fixed penalty notices issued for litter and dog fouling, and that's to be increased by 20% per year, but due to COVID restrictions, face-to-face penalties are suspended, so none were reported. Similar with the leisure ones, customers 09, also increased participation in leisure centres, with leisure centres being closed due to the lockdown, so the attendance was 0 during that time. And similar with the Deliver a Health Intervention Programme, which provide adults with per year with personal exercise plans via the exercise referral scheme. That has also been suspended due to COVID and due to restrictions of meeting face-to-face. Again, it does say in the commentary that they were looking at going live on the 25th of July. I think that was pushed forward slightly to a later date, but I know that they are open now. Moving on to service indicators, and again, I'll go through this in the appendix. There are 12 indicators related to healthier, safer, cleaner, greener.
Excuse me, Amor, Steve's got his hand up.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, Councillor Watson, I'd just like to ask you a question.
Yes.
No, I wanted to comment, please, on that Environment 06, the number of fixed penalty notices for litter and dog fouling. I think all members are aware that we are currently sorting out a dog PSPO for the district, and that too was delayed by COVID. Can you hear me all right?
Sorry, the line went.
No, we lost you a little bit then.
Now,
Muted. There you go.
Can you hear me better now?
That's better, yeah. Thanks.
Yes.
The microphone. Yeah, just to update members that we are hoping to get the PSPO in place now for the 1st of October. So all parish councils will be written to about the signage, which is being that will feed into that and increase in the number of fixed penalties for dog fouling, because that will give us the power to issue instant fixed penalties if somebody's walking dogs and not carrying poo bags, and if they're walking more than the prescribed number of dogs. I think it's 3 dogs they're allowed to walk under that at any one time. So hopefully on the 1st of October, obviously that should have come into force in March, but COVID again affected that. But we are working on it again now. Hope we'll get it in place for the 1st of October.
Okay, thank you. Back to Amar, please.
Thank you. So just to summarise the indicators, 12 in total, 6 with positive outturns, 4 have been affected by COVID, and 2 are negative. And again, I'll go through this when we go to the appendix. So if we just go onto the appendix, what I'll do is I'll just quickly go through each of the themes. So environment number 1 was to develop an externally facing climate change and communication strategy. And again, it's saying the update is that it's in draft form and it's going to be ready for circulation at the end of August. I know there was a question raised at the pre-meeting, and Scott Chambers advised that it's more of a communication strategy, more of a communication plan rather than to deal with climate change itself, so how we're going to market it. Number 2, so this is to reduce the district council's carbon emissions. In summary, there's been a substantial impact on the reduction, and this was due to people working from home, and that was the majority of the reduction that we're seeing at the moment. Environment 03, so achieve a combined recycling and composting rate by 50%. Currently, it's estimated at 46.8%, and we'll get the actual figures by the end of September. And that target is due to be completed in 2023 as well. So it's a long way off yet, but we're heading in the right direction. In environment 04, so this is about street cleanliness. The target is 96%, and we achieved 100%. Dog fouling, again, the target, environment 05, is 98%, and we achieved 100%. Environment 06, so this is to increase the number of fixed penalty notices, and we just spoke about this as well, that face-to-face penalties are suspended, but like you mentioned, we've got this new dog warden that will contribute towards the fixed penalty notices. Environment 09, increase the use of organic herbicide treatments within street scene services by 2023. So there has been a request to withdraw this target. I think there was some concerns around one of the herbicides. I don't know how to pronounce that, Steve, but is it glyphosate products? And I know glyphosate, yeah. And I think it was due to some concerns raised, but we've looked at the scientific evidence and there was no area of concern. Is that right, Steve? In summary?
It is there's been quite some concern raised, in particular in the United States, following a case, a civil case, but all the European health agencies, the UK health agencies, Health and Safety, the Environment Agency, there's been quite a lot of studies undertaken on it, and there's no proof that it's cancerogenic. The product is what we call clean label. It's not an irritant. If for instance, we compared that to Fairy liquid washing up liquid, that's an irritant. This particular product is a non-irritant. It's cleared for as aquatic use. Given all the scientific evidence that's available, which we've checked, yeah, we are continuing to use the actual product, but we are reducing its consumption. It's due for relicensing by the end of 2021, if memory serves me right. We're keeping a close eye on it, and we're also keeping an eye on the market for other like performing products. So we do continue to use it. It's predominantly on the highway metalled areas that we use it for treating weeds in pavements and road channels. I think that's a fair summary of the what we've reviewed today. Okay.
I've got Mary's hand up first. You'd like to ask a question, please.
Thank you, Chair. It's a comment, an excellent comment actually. Yesterday on Street Fencing, I reported a bad area what couldn't be accessed from this disabled pathway onto the road. And this morning it's done. So 100%, I can verify that. So well done, Steve, to your team. And it's an excellent provider, really. And I've had a phone call this morning at 8, or I think about 9:10, saying, you know, they've been. And I went, I looked myself, and they are. And that's under 24 hours service. Excellent.
Thanks for that comment, Mary. Appreciate it. Would you like to continue, Amor, please?
Okay. Thank you, Chair. So Environment 10, develop a wild planting policy. So we've just spoken about this as well. It has been marked as achieved. The street scene policy has been updated. Environment number 11, resolve successfully 60% of cases following the issue of a community protection warning. We're still waiting on a date for that, but currently we're standing at a success rate of 80% as well. So we've served 5 community protection warnings at the moment. Moving on.
You've got a question.
Chair.
Sorry, I can't see all the screen, so if you can let me know, Tom, if somebody's got their hand up, I'd appreciate that, please. Who's got a question, sorry?
Councillor Tate's got her hand up.
Councillor Janet Tate, Chair.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Janet.
I've just got a couple of queries. If we can just go back to ENV04,
yes,
which is the litter. I was wondering if there's any way, you know, voluntary groups that we seem to have a lot of voluntary litter picking groups at the moment. And would there be any way for them to purchase litter picking equipment through the council at maybe a discounted rate to encourage more groups to take part? Is that something that we could look at?
Steve, do you want to come in?
Yeah, we do actually support local groups. We put various adverts out via PR, via social media, the news, etc. We've just recently, we're promoting one, it's Keep Britain Tidy national initiative, and it's the summer clean event. We are putting publicity out there to encourage groups that should they want to undertake a local event, a small event we're encouraging because of COVID, obviously, that will supply them with eye-vis, clothing, the vests, the litter picking tongs, the bag hooks and the bags, and we organise the collection of waste after the event. We do promote this when we have Keep Britain Tidy events pop up, but we do promote it as an ongoing basis. We've got individuals that do it as a regularised basis, and we provide them. We provide them with the equipment FOC, and we have got small groups where we've provided them FOC. So we've got quite a few established litter picking groups, and then we do have the groups that might be organised through a school, a community group, a parish or town council that we do support. So we would encourage it, and it does enhance what we do as a council service.
Yeah, okay, Steve, thanks for that.
Thanks for that, Steve.
Just
Councillor Peake would like to come in just a second, thank you.
Confirm what Steve said is always been excellent in loaning equipment, you know, the IVs, the vests and the pickers. I have used that service for schools and for groups, and it's always been excellent service. So thank you, Steve.
Thank you. Okay, sorry, Councillor Tate, you got another question?
Yeah, it's just the dog fouling. I mean, I suppose we all know in our own wards that we've got areas where we could do with some more bins, dog bins, and just wondering what the likelihood would be of getting some more dog bins in certain areas if these sites were identified.
I can pick that up again, Chair. We have a number of dog bins throughout the district. Regretfully, we do have some dog walkers that will pick their dog mess up, and they'll carry the bags for a while, and they'll drop the bags, which is a bugbear for the service. Obviously, we have to go and clear them up. The issue is we cannot put bins everywhere and anywhere. There is a cost to that. The bins that we do have are very well used, very well utilised. Where we have got a particular troublesome hotspot, we do give consideration to that, just like parishes and towns provide bins, etc., on their facilities. Dog poo bags to some dog waters is a bit like litter to other litter out, and some people drop litter, don't put it in a litter bin, and there seems to be this I don't know, some people will just drop litter without any thought or consideration to just hanging onto it for a little while and either putting it in a bin or taking it home with them or taking it back to the car, etc. Just frustrating. Unfortunately, we just cannot be putting bins at every 20 metres.
No, I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying we all know where there are hot spots in our ward, and if there aren't bins there, is it something we could look at to get an extra one or two in each ward? That's all I'm asking.
We're happy to look at that, and we're also, where we've got bins that, for instance, are underutilised, is to move them, relocate them. We do that as well, and that helps to.
Yeah, thanks for that,
Okay,
Steve.
thanks for that. Can I just come to Councillor Rose Bowler first? She did have her hand up earlier. Do you want to speak, Rose?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. It's regarding EMV 11, regarding community protection warnings. My queries around bees in gardens, beehives. I just wanted to know if it's acceptable for 4 and above or any beehives to be kept in gardens that are at the centre of a residential area that's causing problems with the neighbours, and where does that fit in with the community protection notice?
Does anybody want to come in on that? Because I have no idea.
Similarly, I think that would be an environmental health question. I can take some more details and send it to Ken Eastwood. He's the environmental health manager, who should be able to get a response for you, councillor.
Okay, yes, thanks for that, Amar.
Yeah.
And can we just go to Councillor Peake? Councillor Peake had got her hand up earlier as well, please.
And just going back to Councillor Tate's inquiry, parish councils do put bins around as well. If you just get in touch with parish council, if you've got a concern, if there's a particular hotspot, we may be able to, put one there as well. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Amar, thank you. Do you want to carry on with your report, please?
Okay. So again, we've spoken about these two, customers 09 and customer 10. It was regarding leisure participation and the health intervention programs. Again, due to leisure centres being closed, no activity could be undertaken in Q1 for both targets.
Can I just come in there, Emma? I'm not sure if we have asked you a question to follow this up or not, Joe. I might be repeating myself. But we have said that if we can have for the next meeting an update on how the opening has gone in terms of usage at the leisure facility. I know there's not much going externally. Joe, do you want to come in? Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I was going to come to that towards the end of the meeting when we're discussing work programme. Yeah, we have got that confirmed. I can go into that in more detail at the end. Yeah, we didn't actually pose any extra questions for that. It was more to secure it as an item.
Okay, Mark, sorry about that. Carry on, please.
No problem. Thank you. So again, that's the ambitions completed. Moving on to the targets. Again, I'll only report by exception. So for street scene, the targets are green for SS01, removal of 95% of hazardous fly, tipping within 24 hours reporting. So we've had seven cases referred to us, and 6 were reported were completed in time scale. So again, we missed out on one, and that's the only reason we brought down the target. Otherwise, again, like Q4, it was 100%. For environmental health, the percentage of noise complaints, the target was 90% and the outturn was 81. If you just look below under the exceptions, percentage of noise complaints, there was 150 in the Bolsover area and we responded to 121 within target. And again, it's saying that as you can imagine, during lockdown, there were more noise complaints. You can imagine more people staying at home being one of the main causes. Going back up, EHO3, percentage of high-risk food interventions undertaken. So again, the target was 100, and again, it's 0. And that was again because of COVID and face-to-face being suspended. Similar with EHO7 and EHO9. So this is about inspections for high-risk programs and also enforcement visits of businesses around checking the compliances. Due to COVID, no action was taken. There is an update just saying that it is going to be restarted in September, and again they're going to publish revised objectives for the undertakings. Just checking, so environmental health. Moving on from environmental health, leisure indicator. Again, this is a corporate ambition as well regarding participation. And again, because of it being closed, there was no participants. And that's a performance report, Chair. Oh yeah, sorry. I can go through the questions as well if you wish. Okay, so again, this is an additional appendix that was sent after the report, just going through some pre-meet questions. So we've just talked about this one, Environment 01. So that's to develop an external facing climate change communication strategy. And if you just look at the response was provided by Scott Chambers, and the response is that we have a draft strategy for the carbon reduction plan, and it'll go to the low carbon thematic group in September, and then it'll be up to the chair in terms of which approval route it goes through. So it's not a formal strategy, rather a communication plan. So again, depending on what the group and what the chair would like, if you'd like to see that, you can request so. SS05, so the amount of residential household waste disposal at landfill. There was just a question asked around whether it could be reported as a percentage, and again, it was just due to statutory requirements that DEFRA request it in kilograms rather than percentages. And the final question around recycling and composting. The questions were confused by the reference to the service being ceased or limited when considering the details that were circulated by the leaders update. Aware that staff were supporting businesses who could remain open, but appreciate due to the COVID compliance, it's very difficult to meet expectations. Are there any spot checks around PPE? And also, are checks being carried out as businesses reopen? So, sorry, I think I've got the wrong target there. It's the environmental health target, not the recycling target. And that's a typo, but the response is that it was been affected and that the Food Standards Agency suspended the programs nationally at the beginning of April, and that is, with regards to social distancing. Just looking at the commentary, again, only essential work was proposed to be undertaken. Throughout Q1, so officers continue to monitor businesses where there were high risk of outbreak. High risk of an outbreak, premises. So again, it is around just stopping community spread within the area. Spot checks on businesses regarding social distancing are taking place. And if a visit is required due to a lack of confidence in the management, it will, however, be the vast majority of businesses take on board the guidance to prevent the spread. And just finally, out of all the food safety interventions last year, 1920, out of 510 were were completed in time, and also 233 from a previous year were completed within that time scale, Chair. So that concludes the report.
Thank you very much for that.
Questions?
Any questions for Amar? Again, I can't see everybody, so if anybody raises their hand, Tom, can you let me know? No questions?
Nobody's got the hand raised, Chair.
Okay, then. Thank you then, Amar. I'd like to move the recommendations at point 6 within the report on page 24 and on page 24 of the papers. Can I have a seconder, please?
Chair, I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Rose Bowler. Can we confirm that with, or who's in favour, Tom, please? So, can we have a show of hands?
That's all in favour, Chair.
Thank you very much. Right, thank you for your presentation, Amar, and your report, and you're free to leave the meeting if you wish.
Thank you very much, Chair. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Mary.
Yeah.
Right, I'd like to move on to item 7 now, the impact of COVID-19 on waste collection services, and I think that's a cue for both Steves, I think. Over to you guys.
Right, yeah. As you're aware, we had lockdown at the 23rd of March earlier this year, and following ongoing and updating government advice, we've maintained waste collection as far as reasonably possible. The two main waste streams that were maintained throughout were the black bin collection, the residual waste stream, and the burn. However, we've since recommenced whole green bin collections. They've been running quite on a sustained basis now for quite some number of weeks. The grounds maintenance service, we resumed operations from late May, early June, and they are operating as far as reasonably to normal levels, along with street cleansing. So street scene services, in the event that various things may affect that particular function moving throughout the course, if we have a spike or hopefully not a second wave. So happy to take any questions on that, and the information's been provided.
Thank you very much, Steve. Has anybody got any questions or observations that they'd like to raise with Steve and the team there?
Chair, Councillor Nick Clark has his hand up.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Clark.
Yeah, morning. Thanks, Chair. Steve, you're probably aware it's already been subject to email communication about the Burgundy bin collection. There were issues in July, just before I went away on leave, and the complaints were more than normal. And hopefully that's been resolved with wards, has it?
It has, yes, Councillor Clark. We had an issue with wards. It was a resourcing issue, and particularly on some Thursday work where we've had a large increase in property growth in a particular part of the district. They were, I wouldn't say struggling to contain, but if they had a vehicle breakdown, it did challenge them being able to complete Thursday's work, which then on occasion manifested through into Friday's work. We have But following those, there was a couple of events pretty much close together, and we're reminded of them of their responsibility in resourcing the collections. I'm pleased to say we've had no more events that will continue. We did do a bit of a check in terms of complaints overall between the 3 bins, and that's the in-house service arrangements, which is your black bins, green bins, collection service, your commercial waste collection service, and things like bin deliveries. And overall, there was 185 complaints and/or service requests, 59 of which related to wards. So if you split it just on the 3 bins, they're thereabouts. They're all running at around about 60 bin, which is broadly comparable. So I don't think what happened in July is a gross reflection on the service throughout the district. We had a bit of a spike manifested through into Friday collections in some parts of the district. Fingers crossed, touch wood, that is resolved now.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Nick. Steve, could I just ask what's the procedure for the actual guides? You know, when the collector bin from outside of the front gate, so to speak, take it to the lorry. Are they supposed to take it back to where they got it from, or can they just leave it at the end of the street? Because what I've found is in some wards we've got disabled or people that have got certain disabilities within, so not necessarily just within bungalows, but they live in detached houses, they live in semi-detached houses, and sometimes they can't get their bin back. I just wondered if there was a set process for the guys to follow.
The process, the basic process is that the bin is returned to the point at which it's collected from. So, for instance, if the residents put the bin out on the pavement or on the thin 900mm width verge, then the collectors will put it back, as near as practically reasonably possible in that position. They're not to block the pavement or to leave it in the middle of the pavement. A typical pavement is 1.8 metres wide, and the bin in its widest part on a standard 240 litre bin is about 550, 60 millimetres. So if it's positioned at the edge of the pavement, preferably at the back, there's 4 foot of clear passage for young mothers with pushchairs, mobility scooters, etc. to get by. That's a standard pavement. We accept that in certain areas. There are some oddities, and we've got some pavements that are narrow and may not have green verge adjacent to it. But in the rule, in the main, they're supposed to put the bins back. If there are problems, we'd advise and encourage people to report that, and we do pick it up with people like wards, Burgundy bin collectors, and our in-house teams as well. So that's typically a broad brush.
Thank you for that. Steve, you want to come in?
Steve would like to comment.
Yeah, okay.
But there is one exception to that, and that's where we've had access issues, and that's the only time I'd say the guys are permitted to leave. So if they walked up the street to pull the bin down because they can't gain access, then we don't expect them to take the bins back at that point. But that's the only exception, really.
Yeah, I was going to raise that about if they can't get access into a drive because the cars parked all everywhere or whatever. No, thank you for that. Right, okay. If there are no more questions for Steve or both Steves or Councillor Watson, Joe?
Could I just ask if you could possibly, Bob, on email those details that you were giving a moment ago about the complaints figures? The sound kept bobbing in and out a little bit, so it wasn't possible to catch them all. So if you could just send that through so we can make sure we reflect that in the minutes properly. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, thank you for attending, and I'd like to move that we note this update, and can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Anne Clark, thank you. Could the facilitator confirm who's in favour, please?
It's all in favour, Chair.
Thank you very much. Right, thank you for presenting that, Steve. Then you're free to leave the meeting if you wish. Thank you for attending, Councillor Watson and Steve Jowett. Thank you for your time.
Okay, good day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Have a good day. Right, we'll move on then to item 8, which is work programme 2020 to 21. We'll consider the work programme for the coming year And if I can pass over to the scrutiny officer, Joe will present the report and take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So the usual work programme table is towards the end of your papers, starting on.
Joe, you've gone on mute.
Apologies, I thought it had worked. So
We've got
anyway,
the first bit. And then
I'll try again.
So what page are we on?
So page 57, the table starts on. So I'm just going to talk you through the appendix.
Thank you.
Apologies, I thought I'd click the button. Okay.
That's all right. You did, and then it disappeared for some reason. But you're back now, which is good.
So moving on, looking at the next meeting in October, I can confirm we have got officers from Leisure Services that will be in attendance to talk to us about not only the impact on the Go Active side and the actual leisure centre, but also community provision as well, what's happening, how the team have also then been supporting other areas of work during the early stages of pandemic, etc. So hopefully that will give you a picture as to kind of how we're moving forward with that. By the time they attend, the leisure centre itself will have been running for a while. The swimming lessons have started back this week, and they are changing up the type of availability for some of the public access to the gym sessions as well. So they'll have more feedback on that. So hopefully that will be quite a decent report in terms of understanding where we're at with Leisure Services. For November, I've got HR confirmed to attend and look at primarily focused on health and wellbeing of staff, how we're moving forward, what we've been offering, and plans going forward in terms of how we're operating essentially. We've got other performance reports scheduled for December, February and May. After Christmas, we'll be doing our usual annual review of the Community Safety Partnership, and I'll be double checking with officers whether we need to have any update prior to that point. Obviously there'll have been impacts in terms of that service area during the pandemic. I think a number of councillors will be aware of the change in campaigning for those potentially needing to access domestic abuse services, etc. So I'm going to try and find out if there's anything we need to be aware of before that point. Is there anything in particular that members would like to raise at this stage, or have as a suggestion for other items going forward at this point?
Anybody got any comments or suggestions? I think we've covered most of what we want to be looking at for now, haven't we?
I think so.
Yeah.
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 Okay. So I'll continue to work with officers on bringing those other reports forward to you. And I'm still looking over the review work and other ideas that have come forward for other review topics in terms of moving forward. I think members are probably happy now as to where things are at with waste collection. Now we've had that update and understand where they're at with that, and potentially plans should there be a second wave. So I think that's kind of bottomed that out initially. Obviously that may come back again depending on what happens down the line. Obviously we can't predict the way things are going to go at this stage. So we'll just have to keep an eye on that really, I think. But if that's it, it's just for moving the recommendations, Chair.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to move the recommendations at point 6 within the report, page 55 of your papers. And can I have a seconder, please? I've got a seconder in Councillor Janet Tate. Thank you.
Councillor Tate.
Could the facilitator confirm who is in favour?
All in favour, Chair.
Thank you very much. Right, can I thank members and officers for their attendance? Sorry?
Can I just ask a question on what we're doing in November on the health and for safety of staff? We mentioned it the other day on a little meeting about lone workers in the offices, and they were a bit concerned that we weren't looking after them properly. Perhaps can we have a look into that, see if the staff are being looked after and they're not being isolated at home unduly, and perhaps they could come into
Yeah.
office if they wish to. Could be somebody take a look at that and see what they can report on it.
Yeah, ideally that's going to be the full part of the report, so we understand you know, how have they put practices in place currently in terms of staff that are in offices and are not in offices. How are we looking at rota basis to have staff in a couple of days a week, so at least they're getting a mix of contact if that's possible. Obviously you don't want to be in a situation where you've got too many people flowing in and out initially, if that's not manageable from an infection, you know, a volume of people point of view, but hopefully it'll cover all aspects like that, and also then the support that's available remotely.
It was mentioned, and I thought, you know, for the wider public and for ourselves, there are people suffering, you know, that could do with a bit of support perhaps.
Yeah, so hopefully it'll cover all that. We'll have to be mindful as to kind of what level of detail we go into.
Oh yeah,
We
no
can't
names
sort
and
of go into any
numbers.
sort of, but in terms of the types of support and how we're looking to open up the office space more, if they're able to tell us at that point, then hopefully that will be part of the.
So
the
we are
update.
looking into that then as a thing, yes.
That's ideally what that report's going to be, and then also how we would normally have that on an annual basis anyway. So hopefully it will cover some of the elements of how they're progressing against the general health and wellbeing strategy for staff internally, and the other activities that we have on an ongoing basis regardless.
Right.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, Joe. Thank you, Peter. So if there's no more questions then, like I said, can I thank members and officers for their attendance today. That concludes the business of the meeting, and I shall close the meeting and ask for the live stream to be ended to the public with us on YouTube, and thank you for watching.